Thank you so much for these great people on the screen here. They are supporting our channel to bring you more education like this. If you are interested in joining the crew, come on down. The link is in the description below. What's up, LJ members? Happy Friday. So today's video was going to be a swing analysis based on yesterday's feedback. So thank you so much for all those people that did leave comments and you said, diagnose this person, look at the swing theory. It will occur next week. I was going to do a swing evaluation this morning, but somebody in our comment section sent me this video about this gentleman, and the gentleman's name is GP Golfing. So I want you to go show his channel some love. I did find this video pretty interesting, and he talks about weight distribution. So we're going to look at some of the key metrics that he talks about. I don't want to take any view time from him, so go check out his full video. I'll leave that link in the description below. But we will also take a look at his golf swing and do an analysis on his swing, because he thinks he might be doing something to cause these blocks. But I am under the impression that it's something a little bit different, and it has to do with his tilting and turning. But the whole point of his video is we have been brainwashed by golf coaches on what weight transfer really is. And I like this kind of stuff, so go check him out, but let's get going. Start this video right in the middle of things, so I don't want to again take his views away, but go check out his full video. But let's start right when he's explaining left side, right side, everything like that.
So at home we briefly covered weight transfer. Now we need to go to a little bit more technical stuff so you can actually see in real life how this works. Now we're gonna start off with the weight transfer on the left leg. Now this is what I do not want, right? This is if you were my player and I was coaching you, and if you would be doing this would be the first thing that we would change, right? My father always told me is the biggest mistake that you can do at a long game is transferring your weight like this, because this ruins everything, and I'm going to explain everything. And then the second thing is going to be how to properly transfer your weight. So we move to the right. Okay, now let's start. So the first thing is, as I said before, in the past few years, no, past 5-6 years, I don't even know, it's been quite a long time, many coaches have been teaching this, right? So when you go in the bag, you already transfer your weight left, right? You see this? Boom. There's probably many of you guys who actually play like this and like, wow, this is good, right? I really, then I have power to go up. Let me explain you why this is the worst mistake. So in golf, what we need space between our hips and our arms. How do we achieve that? Definitely not by going on the left. Now what happens when you move your way to the left? Now when we're here, there's many things that can happen, but we're gonna focus on main things. The main thing is, when you're here, there's nowhere for your hips to move. The only way your hips can move from here is if you turn them this way, okay? When you're here, your hips can't go there because you're gonna fall back on your ass, right? If you're here, you can't sway left because you're gonna fall left. So your hips have only one chance, and that chance is to go up and move your hips like this, right? So what coaches have been teaching is, when you go on the left, you load up your left foot, and then from here you propel up so you get the power. But this is not where the power comes from. You can maybe hit slightly longer if you do this, but you're gonna lose so much consistency, and this is why. You go on the left leg, you have to move up and there, and then what happens to your right elbow? You're gonna see from the back camera, you get stuck. So you go here, you get stuck. What happens? My club and my arm is nowhere to go, so either I push the ball, right, or I pull or hook the ball.
Okay, so let's talk about what he just said. There's some great things that he said, and there's some definites that I would shy away from. When he says, you know, if I go left, this will happen, my only option is to escape this way. At that level, you're taking away the talent level of the students, and that is definitely across the board. You can have somebody that has zero talent with the hand-eye coordination, zero athleticism, and they can do something completely different. You take somebody that's very talented, has a great hand-eye coordination, they can actually make that position work, and then it sends mixed messages. That's why it's very hard to teach talented athletes, because they can do so many things and still strike the golf ball because they're so much more talented. that they get mixed messages. They think, oh, well, I stack left, I can make this work. And yes, they can. So it depends on your goals. Now, let's talk about weight distribution, because Force Plates has recognized that majority of the people, let's just call it all PGA Tour players, get weight distribution. If I'm righty, I'm going to talk right-handed. They go right side to left side. For the lefties, they go left side to right side. Depending on the percentages, it could go up to 70, 75, even 80% of this motion right side to left side. Now, swaying over, where you move your hips and your centeredness of your chest, I don't see there's many swayers on the tour level, but there are definitely many swayers at the amateur level, and that could come from lack of rotation due to some body limitations. But even stack and tilters, they don't necessarily increase their weight going left. You know, the trend nowadays, specifically with like Juju Golf, Jim Venitos, Tom Seguro, they're definitely stack and tilters, whether they want to admit it or not. They're just taking on some stack and tilt fundamentals, which basically started in steel shaft invention days, but that's another video, it's on my channel. But even those guys, they start with 55, 60% on the left side. As they take their swing back, their job is just to keep it at 55 to 60%. Even if they move a little bit, 5%, that's still going to give the feeling that more of the weight is on the left side. And then as they drove through, they still have weight distribution going left because they're still pushing the remainder 45, 50% from the right side to the left side. So they still have weight distribution. Now, I think where this gentleman might be getting confused is the interpretation of what some of these coaches are out there. So if I'm an amateur and I'm watching the coach, and the coach says, I want you to start 50-50 at the top of the swing, you need to feel like your weight's on your left side. Now, the feeling of the weight on the left side, coming from somebody that has weight distribution where they go right to left, is definitely going to feel like more weight's on the left side because you're keeping it neutral. There's no weight distribution. So the feeling for you, because you're so used to the more traditional motion, is yes, I feel like my weight's on the left side. So you start taking that feel and you keep adding that feel. So when you get used to the centeredness weight shift, you still want that feel. So you start searching more for that feel. Next thing you know, you have this inefficient weight distribution. Now, can you hit a golf ball bad from there? Can you hit it good? Yes and no. It all comes down to your athletic ability and can you make this work? You can hit a golf ball correct from any position. I don't care what it is. Reverse grip, standing backwards, figure out a way to fall around. You can hit a golf ball. Now, can you do it routinely? That's the goal. So if you can do it routinely, give yourself a decent ball flight, and you have a little bit of the sway or a little bit of the stacking left and right, hey, it works. Does it fit your goals? No problem. Do you want to all of a sudden take your goals from a 19 handicap to a 10? Okay, do we need to look at that? Is that causing you the 9 shots difference, or is it somewhere else? So this is one of those things where we fall into the trap of trying to look pretty because we've heard that we can hit it much further and we can hit it much straighter, but it's the same thing as any tip out there. They dangle that carrot of further, straighter, more repeatable, less time if you do this. So I understand what he's saying. I agree with what he's saying to a point, but there's always the interpretation of the students and the talent of the student that we are always forgetting to mention. But now let's go ahead and look at what he talks about with correct weight distribution, and then we're going to diagnose his swing because he makes a few comments about his swing of why he feels he blocks it out. But let's get going here.
So consistent, and I can hit the ball very far. From here, when you stand the ball, you always need to feel that you move a little bit to the right, okay? Now the problem that maybe you as an amateur or a coach has been telling you, when you move to the right, you're gonna sway. Oh, swing is bad. Swing is good, but all in a proportionate area, right? If you're gonna sway like this, it's not gonna be good, right? Same if you move, your weight too much to the right and too much to the left, it's not gonna be good. You need to be in a consistent area of a balance, okay? So I want you to feel like you have 50% weight distribution, okay? And now from here, let's say I have a 7-iron. Of course, if you're gonna have 60 degree, you're gonna sway less and you're gonna move less to the right. But still always have a feel that you move a little bit to the right. Now when you move a little bit to the right, I have 7-iron, you move a little bit to the right. Now my left knee is not gonna go that way, but it's gonna go here. You see from the back how this changes. If I go with my club up, you see how this will change. You see my club, right? Boom, 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 okay? And you want to be in this position. I mean, in this position rather than this position.
Okay, I just want to stop real there quickly. Take a look at Tom Segura's swing. Take a look at this gentleman's swing. Both very good golfers. Tom Segura looks more like the guy he doesn't want you to look like, and vice versa. I'm sure Tom says that this guy doesn't look like what he wants you to look like. So we see conflicting things out there. It's no wonder everybody's so confused on what to follow and what to do. Man, go take my 23 question test down below. I'll leave that link again so you can go test out what your body's like.
So when you go in the backswing, you sway a little bit to the right, you move your weight, and now my weight is here, okay? Now we can use the portion of loading up a little bit on the left foot, because this is just the normal physical aspect of the golf. When we go up, right, we're always gonna pressurize a little bit of the left foot, but then from here, I don't want you to, go this way. This is another mistake. You don't wanna go that way. Your hips should move in a line of a little bit of a sway and a little bit of a kind of this motion. So from here, you're gonna see from the back, this motion, kind of left back, right? So when I go up from here, I kind of push it a little bit that way.
Okay, so we're going to stop the video right there because I just don't want to take minutes from his video. So go watch his video and watch the full thing, but we got the gist of everything. But if you hear him speak, again, he is speaking from a definite. Your hips should do this. Your hips must do that because it works for him. And we will look at this and his swing, and it does work for him. But does this work for Mrs. Havenkamp? Does it work for Mr. Jones? Does it work for the 10-year-old kid? Does it work for the guy who barely plays golf once a month because he can't? He's working a full-time job. We don't know. We don't know the body limitation. Be careful when you watch these videos because, again, you could be falling down the same trap. What makes this any better than Tom Segura? And they're both accomplished players. So choose your person wisely. So let's go take a look at this golf swing.
Yeah, push. This is what happens to my 3-iron when I don't correctly transfer my weight. I stay behind, so I go up and then I don't clear my hips, and as I said before, I get stuck a little bit behind, and that's where the push comes from.
Okay, so too bad we didn't have that the view from this view, so we can see if that feel is real. But the face on, we'll go over your shoulder tilt. Just remember, the whole reason for weight distribution is based on your setup and controlling your low points. And some of the positives of getting more centered weighting at the top is you're controlling your low points. Now, it could be tougher for a driver because the low point needs to be slightly behind the golf ball with your tilting. So irons, you really want to think about low point control, and obviously the more you get that weight shift over to the right side, your low point will shift behind, and you have to figure out a way to get the back on front. So let's go take a look at his swing. As you swing now, you'll notice that this is a very powerful swing. You can tell the guy's a good player. He can strike the golf ball probably a mile. He uses his body correctly for him, but it all comes down to controlling your low point, controlling your tilting down at impact. And if your tilting is off to your low point and you find yourself when your hands are swinging too far up related to that tilting, you could come into some issues. So we're going to do a real quick check on his setup, look at the backswing, but then we're going to get down into impact. I'm going to show you what really I think occurs down at impact to cause some blocks, because it has to do with being a little bit late with the hands. They're showing up late to the party. They got their invitation through snail mail instead of sending it overnight express. So it all starts with setup, and we're going to use OG Barney Purple just for this one, and we're going to look at the relationship between the tilting at address and the centeredness of that tilt. Now remember, the centeredness is perpendicular, and again, YouTube doesn't put these lines straight, so you have to believe that they are straight. For some reason, when we upload it, it come out a little bit crooked, but that's basically predetermining where your centeredness of your bottoming of out the circle, because your hands are connected. Now obviously right hand's a little bit lower, it's going to adjust it slightly, but just for argument's sake, that's the center of his circle where that small mellow yellow circle is. Now we know if you sequence properly, you will increase that tilting because you're getting the weight distribution starting from the right side to the left side. We're going to increase our hip tilt, we're going to increase our shoulder tilt to stay back. So we're going to probably predict a shoulder tilt of, let's just call this an Ivan Red right about here, if this is correct based on the sequencing. Now that'll also shift that centeredness a little bit out in front. So now our centeredness of that circle related to our tilting is way out in front. Now you can do this with a driver because you would like to swing up. At this point, you're tilting back, you're swinging more up, you're increasing your launch angle. But the problem with this with an iron is your low point needs to be somewhat at the golf ball or slightly ahead of the golf ball in terms of the centeredness. So we're going to take a look at his centeredness here in relation to the golf ball. Let's do this in Gumby Green, and we're going to try and get a vertical line from the golf ball straight to the sky. Now we can see we might be in some issues because we're setting up almost like a driver for this. So this is a great driver swing, because how are we going to get that centeredness of your spine at that golf ball? We would have to shift so far left towards impact. And here is him on the right side. Now, the reason they're slightly cropped differently is because I couldn't capture it at the similar time. So we're going to have to deal with these plane lines here. I know they're probably not exact, but they're going to be good enough to showcase what's going on. So we're going to watch the right side first. We get to that secondary plane line pretty well. You can see that the arms will drop down in that slot, but right about here, we can see that they're parallel to his plane work, but they're favoring the top of the secondary plane line. Now there's some positives of getting it higher or lower. It depends on your hand-eye coordination. Now he has really good hand-eye coordination, so he can get away with this. As we come on down through though, that club will definitely veer on that lower plane line, and it looks like it stays on that lower plane line, so we don't see it veering behind no man's land, and this is dangerous. So this is all good. Everything's fine here. We see the weight distribution is good. We see the footing is going to the left heel. We see him still holding his back brace line. We definitely see him moving down. So if we go back to the original starting position, we can see he is in his posture still as he strikes the golf ball. We are definitely moving down too, so we're compressing. Remember, compression is like that spring load, so you want to feel, if you possibly can, like the upper body's moving down and the lower body's moving up, and what holds it is our core muscles, but we also need to make sure we hold that back brace line to provide the room, is what he's talking about. However, with an iron, that becomes a little challenging because to go down and turn, we also need to increase our tilt. So if we strike the golf ball, we can see the tilting numbers are really, really high. So let's draw a tilt comparison. We're going to do right at impact. There's his tilting at impact. We're at 66. And let's go to the top of the swing here. And we are sitting roughly at 35. So we have 31 degrees of excess tilt. Now with a 3-iron, that's pretty tough, and I believe this is a 3-iron for what I remember him in the video. You're looking for between 20, maybe 25 max, but when you start to see it veer into the 30s, we're really compressing and tilting. Now when you compress and tilt, what is that going to do to your hand position? So let's go back. Let me redraw these lines because I, like an idiot, erased them. So let's do this real quick with the power of editing. So here's his setup with his angles corrected. So let's choose Barney Purple because he's got to just still be around here, right? And let's draw his ball position again so we see it's favoring that left side. The goal is low point control of your circle, but that circle continually changes the more you tilt. So this is key. So to help us see that slight weight distribution, we're going to look at the right hip, and as he takes us back, we do see that right hip moving slightly over. It's not necessarily a sway. You definitely see that little bit of a bump of the weight shift. So he does a great job with his weight shift. We see that the spine angle now is still in that same posture, so he's doing a really good job of maintaining that spine angle. However, that ball position might become an issue with the excess tilting. So we get down into impact. Here comes the compression. We see great loading down. We see him starting to clear the hips, drive them up. We see the knee tilt kicking up, but we take a look at what's happening kind of right at this frame here, and this is a good frame to look at. So we're going to draw his tilting in terms of his spine angle. So we're going to draw this now in a new, actually let's do it in red so it's easy to tell which one's which. So there are his shoulders, and perpendicular to that, we now see that low point shifting pretty far out in front of the golf ball. Now, if we draw everything in relation to that shoulder tilt, in other words, we're going to draw a line that's perpendicular where the ball is. So when you increase your tilting, you're changing everything with that tilt. So you have to imagine that we need to kind of move the golf ball position. So basically this becomes your straight line. When you start, the straight line's the ground, but the more you tilt, that straight line rises up. Because he had a slight forward press, he has to close that gap. He's not closing it, he's falling back to carry that angle. That's the second way you can do it. But we take a look at the club now, is pretty close to that parallel. So this is where we'll call his parallel based on his tilting. Now we're going to add one more line. I hope this doesn't confuse everybody if you can keep up with me. We're going to do this in Smirkleton. So we're going to draw this relative to his tilting. Where are those hands related to the golf ball? They are way ahead of the golf ball if things are pivoted together. Now, the problem with that is because they're way ahead of the golf ball, he only has X amount of time to hit that golf ball and make sure he swings down. So what we can tell is right at impact, there is this last second throwing of the hands. So we see from here to here, the hands now are doing their job of releasing, but they're also moving up based on the tilting. So the hand escape pattern is going to be higher. Now, when it's higher with the club, we need the right hand to throw to extend that club. And if we clear up all these lines, we'll see he does a relatively good job. We're going to draw the shoulder tilting here, and perpendicular to that, watch what happens. Look how close that club head becomes to that perpendicular. It's pretty close, but look how far back the hands are. So there is a little bit of this throwing. Now, when you're late with that throw, what happens? Because we have a path that is going right, and we can see this path on the right side of the screen here. There's his lower path as he comes on down through there. So we know we've got a path that's going to escape to the right. If you don't close that club down in time, you're going to leave the club face open to you, but it's probably square to the path. So that's where you get your blocks from. He's still able to hold his posture. So I believe that one where he felt like he was moving into the golf ball, changing his spine angle, I don't think it was that. I would love to see that swing from the other side of the view, but I hope this makes sense. So go check out his channel. He seems like a good guy. Go give him a shout out from Line Golf Academy. But I hope you guys have a good weekend. Don't forget, send me your videos for Sunday. We need some videos. Obviously, this Sunday is going to be full, but for next Sunday. And if we keep getting more videos, I'm going to do it multiple times a week. This is all free, no paywalls, all for you education. Don't fall victim to what's out there with golf. It's all a money grab. Hope to see you next time. Pepper's and greens.